Well, today I'm excited to show you this video comparing the 2014 Ghost and then the Phantom 2 add-on set with the 2023 Ghost and Phantom 2. Now, there's quite a bit of difference between these two, besides almost a decade between the two Ghost ships. The big thing is, on the new Ghost, you actually get the Phantom 2 with it, whereas before it was an expansion set, so you did get more minifigures going that route, but the new one is significantly higher in price as well as in piece count. So let's start breaking that down. Before we get too far into things, I want to say thank you to LEGO for providing the 2023 Ghost and Phantom 2, and I want to say thanks to my friends at IC Toys Nashville, an awesome toy store here in Nashville, for letting me borrow their Ghost and Phantom for this review. Thanks to IC Toys, and be sure to check them out. So the original Ghost from 2014 retailed for $90 with 929 pieces, and then the Phantom add-on set came out in 2017. This is the one that came with Grand Admiral Thrawn, which everybody wants now, and that one retailed for $30 and had around 300 pieces itself. So in total, we have around 1,200 pieces for the original combo, and now with the new one in 2023, you get both for 160, you get 5 minifigures, and you get 1,394 pieces, whereas the original Ghost came with a mix of minifigures that were and weren't exclusive. Now, before anybody says anything, yeah, I know this is the wrong Stormtrooper, deal with it. Anyways, like I said, you did get Grand Admiral Thrawn the first time around, you got Blind Kanan and Chopper with the Phantom, and then you got regular Kanan, Zeb, and Hera with the Ghost. So the big thing everybody wanted to know about is the size difference, and interestingly enough, the size of the Ghost actually isn't all that different, but the original Phantom is way, way bigger than the one in the new set. That being said, I think the one in the new set is scaled to fit with the Ghost a little bit better, and you have to remember that the original Phantom also needed to be its own standalone set, so it did need to be a little bit bigger and bulkier, but seeing these side by side now, holy crap, Batman, that original one is pretty bulky and bad looking in the back. As far as the general shape and construction, though, they're actually really similar in size. Yes, there are some differences where the new one uses some longer, bigger panels, whereas the original one used more triangular pieces, but the general shape and scale of them is pretty darn similar, and it's actually pretty shocking to see in person. I'm pretty amazed at how similar the fronts of these are. We did get printed bubbles up front for the gunner deck down below, and then up top we do have these two canopies where you can put another minifig in here, and those look great, but again, I'm surprised at how similar the construction is here. In fact, the only inside that the original one has are these two panels that lift up front and use weapon storage as well as missile storage. So back then it was kind of fine, but now it's like, oh my gosh, there was nothing to play with in this. Another thing with the original are these escape pods. There's actually one on each side, and they're pretty roomy, which sort of makes up for the fact that there's no interior, but come on, when we look at the 2023 one and you see how much room there is to play and store minifigures and cargo, that's just on a whole nother level. Instead of having escape pods on the new one, we actually get these little landing decks that come down so you can load your minifigures into the Ghost, which I actually like more than the escape pods. And as you can see, basically every time we talk about a detail on the new one, it kind of makes the old one irrelevant. The old one's good for nostalgia, don't get me wrong, but this new one is just crushing it, guys. When we get to the back, the engines are relatively similar, although the new one uses blue projectors, whereas the old one uses these orange ones. It's not enough to really get into, but the big thing to talk about, of course, is the docking of the Phantom. Now, again, the old Phantom is huge, and it even has room for Chopper to be on it, whereas the new one doesn't have room like that at all. But as you can see, they both lift in and out pretty easily. The biggest difference is that the old one actually has a little bit more play value there, because you can see that there's doors back there, although they're not really minifigure scale, and it's really a full loading dock experience, whereas the new one is literally just some bricks that hold it in place. But I do think that the trade-off of how good the new one looks on there is kind of worth it in the end. I do want to talk about the gunner bubble as well. The new one has a minifigure sit in there, and the gun is not posable, whereas the old one also has a minifig that sits in there, but it does allow the gun to move, and it reminds me a lot of the old Millennium Falcon, which is pretty cool in its own right. Along the sides and bottom, I really like what they did in the sandwich aspect, where you kind of have these like inverse bricks that give it a lot of life on the trim of the new one, whereas the old one doesn't really have that, but the depth is kind of nice too. I'm kind of on the fence which one I like more, but it is worth noting. Underneath both ships, we do have kind of like a landing gear build to keep it propped up high, and then we also have missiles that shoot out. On the old one, they're the standard missiles, you just kind of push them in, and on the new one, there's actually a play feature where when you move the gun, it shoots the missile. That's pretty cool. Let's circle back to the Phantoms for a second. The old one, like I said, was its own set, so it had a lot more play value packed in with these landing gears that came down, even a roomier cockpit area, and a whole part in the back that could be unloaded with some weapons in there, and even the Imperial logo on this box, whereas the new one also has a cockpit that opens and fits a minifigure inside, and the back does have an opening where you could store some weapons, although it's a lot smaller than the original, and I think that that's worth noting. I like both. I do think that the new one is scaled better to fit on the Ghost, but the old one kind of works on its own as its own set, so I could see value in both places. And with that, we're bringing the video to a close. Now, there is one more thing I'd like to address. There is another Phantom, thanks to IC Toys for letting me borrow this too, and this could connect up with the original Ghost as well. Now, as of right now, I don't know if we would ever get a Phantom like this at the scale that could connect here, and I really don't see LEGO putting out a Star Wars set at this scale of this old Phantom. I mean, maybe they could, but I do think it's worth noting that it is cool that you could plug in different Phantoms with the original Ghost, whereas, at least as of this video right now, all we have is the Phantom 2 that comes with this Ghost. So I did just want to mention that before we round this out. Now, of course, this is a comparison video, so you guys are looking for what the better of the two is, and I've said it and sprinkled it through here many, many times. The new 2023 Ghost is so much better. Not only do you get everything in one set, you don't have to hunt down 2, or arguably even 3, to get the complete Ghost, but it's just built better. That interior is so awesome. It's just a stronger build, and overall, it's going to fit in better with your Star Wars collection based off of how modern it is versus the old one being a little bit more clunky. That being said, I do think that there's some nostalgic charm to that original one, don't you? I mean, there's a lot of coolness going on there, and if you grew up with this one, it's kind of like an original Millennium Falcon. It's always going to have a special place in your heart, but there's going to be a whole generation of people that grow up with this as their Ghost, and that's pretty special too in its own right. So I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. I so appreciate you checking out this video, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe down below and like and all that good stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Check out my other Star Wars September 2023 reviews and videos, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.